Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Kiki Sparkles.
Hello.
And it's time for another daily dose of dismal Disney. Disney is getting sued again, this time by their own employees because of the bungled move to Florida.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, they were going to make a campus in Lake Nona, and they actually bought the land and did some stuff towards it. They were telling Imagineering that they were going to have to move to Florida. This is all before the parental rights education bill. Then Disney canceled that and then just walked it all back. However, they were already, I think, canceling it before the parental rights education bill because they were dragging feet, to save money.
Yeah.
But they tried to blame it on that. However, some Imagineers had already quit.
Yes.
Or had already moved to Florida,
Yes.
and now they're like, people got stuck in different places or left the company or, had already made plans or already did move, and now they're stuck. And that's probably playing into why they're suing Disney.
Yeah, I'm sure they pulled their kids out of school, they sold their houses, that's a huge deal. And I've seen companies do that before, that they've made people move and then they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we're not doing that, or
we changed our mind,
or oh, you came here for like 3 months, now we're gonna get rid of you.
That happens. That happens.
That happens too. So let's talk about this before we get into it any further. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You get woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
So this is coming from the LA Times. Disney employees are suing the company over a bungled move to Florida. So they're talking about how in 2021, Bob Chapek wanted to relocate their California employees to Lake Nona. And then they decided, well, we're not going to do that anymore. And I know the state of Florida was pissed because there were like all kinds of, there's all kinds of development and stuff that was going to go on. And they were going to get the tax money and it was going to be this huge deal. And then they had a temper tantrum. But I don't think that, I'm with you, I don't think that's what actually was going on. I think they're trying to save money, but they said the move was designed for Disney to take advantage of Florida tax credits, but the cross-country shift was deeply unpopular among employees who were asked to uproot their lives in Southern California. Now, some Disney employees are suing the company over the canceled relocation. According to a lawsuit filed on Tuesday against Disney and LA County Superior Court, numerous workers heeded the company's calls, dutifully sold their homes in LA and moved to Central Florida. This is Maria de la Cruz and George Fong, both current Disney employees, alleged they were fraudulently induced to relocate to Florida by being led to believe that they would lose their jobs if they turned down the move. Yeah,
that's how people were. They were worried. That's why they didn't want to go when the whole parental rights education thing started. They really ramped up the fact they didn't want to go because we don't want to be sent there when they hate LGBTQ plus people, and there's a lot of people who were trying not to have to leave.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people were kind of using the political angle though, just to make a case for why they should stay. I mean, it was kind of a weird decision for Disney to try to move everything to Florida, but originally it was about taxes, and they're like, yeah, this is going to cost too much. It said the lawsuit claimed that Disney told affected employees they would have 90 days to consider and make the decision that's best for them. So you only have 3 months. Imagine being at Disney for decades, and some of these people are there for decades, and you have your whole life, and and then just being like, yeah, you got like a couple months to think about selling your house and moving to Florida.
Yeah, and that's how they made it out. They kept giving them deadlines, and they said it had to be by here, and then they said, well, we're going to push it back a couple years, but a lot of people just went ahead and did it and relocated, or some people just quit the company.
Now this is where it sucks. De La Cruz is a vice president of product design. She sold her Altadena home in May of 2022. Mr. Fong also sold his home. This breaks my heart a little bit, which was a particularly painful decision because it was the family home he grew up in and inherited.
Oh, that sucks.
Fong is a creative director of product design. His family home was in LA. A year after they sold their houses and moved, Disney canceled the project.
I know people moved and they were already there ready to go. And then they canceled it. And I remember we talked about that when they canceled it. I said, what about the people that already moved there? And I know people quit. I know there was an Imagineer who made a big video how he was quitting instead of moving. And that was back in 2021.
Well, clearly some Imagineers have left because, looking at what's coming out of Disney lately, it's like you guys are lacking. But can you imagine that's your family home and you sell it? Basically, you put the company before your family in a way, and this is how you get rewarded for it. You know, I mean, we keep telling people this, like Disney, they're very good putting on airs, putting on, you know,
family first.
Family first. We're family friendly. It's all about your family. But Mickey, it's the Mickey Mafia. Mickey's your family.
You're all part of the family until layoffs came, weren't you? And then you were just employees.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. So they said that they seek unspecified punitive damages. Initially, Disney envisioned it would eventually save money on the $1 billion Lake Nona development due to lower worker costs in Florida. It was also drawn by tax credits offered by the state for relocating. The project became swept up in Disney's legal and culture war wranglings with DeSantis.
Here's the thing. I think that might have been part of it, because people over in California started protesting more. That being said, though, it was already kind of being drug along, and it seemed like they were going to cancel it before that happened. They were supposed to be doing it, but I was following it. And I remember, like, why aren't they moved on this? You know, why didn't they? Because we're talking like 2023, 2022, 2023, they actually decided to cancel it. And I was like, they are not doing anything. They've announced this, but they've done nothing other than get the land, and they had plans out, but they didn't start building them. So I don't think that was why. I think they were canceling, and they were using that as an excuse for why they canceled it.
Yeah.
But I think that they were going to cancel it anyway, in my opinion.
I think they were too, because they said that. They said as much. I'm surprised that the LA Times admitted this. It said a month after Disney filed a federal First Amendment lawsuit against Sunshine State and its governor, it pulled the plug on the development. In parentheses, the legal matters have been resolved, and Disney has reaffirmed its commitment to continue a massive Florida parks expansion. The project's cancellation also coincided with significant cost cutting across the company.
I think it was the cost cutting. They were already looking to cancel it. And then he opened his mouth and said, oh, $17 billion in investments and everything else. And then he said, we're not going to do that now because the parental rights education bill and the way DeSantis is behaving. They were just using it as an excuse. They were already going to cut stuff. They were just using that as excuse to say it's his fault so that everybody blamed DeSantis. That's what it was about.
Yeah, and now they're getting along just fine. They're getting what they
got
want.
One of their people in there. They're happy.
Yeah. So Disney said in May 2023, and they canceled it. They said, given the considerable changes that have occurred since the announcement of the project, including new leadership and changing business conditions, we have decided not to move forward with construction of the campus. And I know that was a big deal because there were a lot of other businesses that were planning to build up around that campus. They're like, oh, this is fantastic. We can, put in strip malls and I can do this.
It hurt a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
I'm both working at Disney and otherwise.
Disney acknowledged that some employees had already moved. The company said it would discuss the situation with individual employees, including making plans to move them back to California. Well, good luck with that. If you sold your family home, you can't just go back a year or two later and be like, hey, yeah, could I just buy that back for what you paid for it? I want my family house back.
It says down below, it said he has since bought a house in South Pasadena, considerably less square footage than his previous home. And he's in the process of moving back to California, but he had to buy another house. He couldn't get his house back, obviously. And he has to buy a smaller house because he can't afford one.
Well, yeah, because if he sold his family home and that had been in the family for generations, I mean, my family lived in California. They bought a house in the 1980s for $180,000 is what they paid for it. And then when they moved out of that house, this would have been around the late aughts. I think the house was worth about $2.5 million because it was in the Bay Area and we were like a stone's throw from Silicon Valley. And I'm sure he's not going to be able to buy something comparable.
Well, even then they said even when he paid for it, when Disney had announced plans, the prices were up. And after they announced they were pulling away, the home prices went down. So if he sold his Florida home, he's going to get less than what he paid for it. He's just going to be out a whole lot the whole way around. He's not going to replace the home.
No, and you can't. I mean, that's your family home. Like I
would have found a job someplace else.
I probably would have too.
I would have. I mean, that's what the one Imagineer did that he put the video out. He's like, I love being an Imagineer, work for Disney, but he's like, I'm not moving. I'm from here. My family's here. I just can't do it. So he quit.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I give them props for the dedication that they were willing to move to stay at Disney. I mean, Disney must have something going for them. These people are willing to move across the country to continue working there. But I'm also like, that sucks. And they're not going to even flinch. They're not even going to care. They're just going to be like, oh, well, we expected you to basically live for us. So, that's part of and that's it. When you work for Disney, that's what people don't understand. A lot of times you work for Disney. I'm not talking even the cast member level. I'm talking to people that are, working in Imagineering or working in movie, whatever. They basically think they own you. I mean, this goes back even to Walt's day. Like the reason that you saw a lot of the same actors in the Disney movies was they did feel like they were kind of family. And it's like, we will keep giving you work, but we expect you to be loyal to us, and that's kind of how it works.
Oh yeah. He'd get mad if someone wanted to go do a movie for somebody else.
He did. There were a couple instances where he got mad when somebody wanted to jump to another studio because he's like, yeah, we own you. And the actors are like, well, you weren't exactly calling us. We're just supposed to sit around until you feel like it, Walt. Is that? Yeah. And that's how they feel. So they're just going to be like, oh, it sucks. You sold your house. Okay. Back to work.
Yeah, even if they help them relocate, they're not going to it's not going to undo the damage. This person, especially with the prices in Orlando dropping now or after it was announced, they're canceling. And then the prices in LA going up. There's just no way that they're going to come out of this, whole, the legal term, you're not whole. So they have reason to go after them. This is about just people that moved. I think people who quit because they didn't want to move might have grounds too, because they didn't move. Yeah,
because what happens? So if you quit, just hypothetically speaking, I don't know, they said that they talk to individual employees about terms and whatever, right? But if, let's say you moved, you quit, you get out of line, you add seniority, do you have to like reapply for your job if you want? And if you do they bump you down in pay?
Yeah, that's a good question. Probably.
Because it'd be like, okay, well, when I quit, I was making $100,000 a year, and now I want to come back. Well, I'm not going to be in the same position, and I'm going to be making like $50,000 a year.
Right, you're not going to be. I mean, if they pay you more, you're probably not going to have you're not going to have your seniority. You left.
No. Yeah.
So, the whole thing sucks.
I don't know, guys. They're
getting sued now.
There you go, another lawsuit. I think we're gonna see more of this, or we're gonna hear more about it.
And it's in California, so
they're gonna side with the employees. In California, they almost always side with the employees. So good luck with that. I kind of wondered if something like this wasn't gonna happen. I gotta tell you, because I'm like, man, people are just uprooting their entire lives to go to Florida. They're not gonna be happy about it. But there you go. You think the company's going to take care of you, and they're not going to. Going to wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.